Hello everyone and welcome to Gierok Farms. Today we are off the farm. We had a big day of traveling yesterday. We're down in Kansas City, Missouri today. Dad and I took a little road trip. He's going to pick up his mill today, or we are.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty exciting day.
They just kind of called me out of the blue, so I maybe talked to these guys a month earlier here and they made it sound like it's going to be a while yet, and then all of a sudden they call me up and say it's ready to go. We got good weather. We're concerned about getting it home salt-free in this winter months, and right now we're a week before Christmas, so we thought we better get this done, because if we wait, it might be spring.
Yeah, if you're from the Midwest, you know we've had a pretty timid winter so far, and we're going to take advantage of it and get this mill home before Christmas here. So.
We're going to learn a lot. There's a training. They go through a lot of things with us there. It's all part of buying something like this, and excited to see what they got available for accessories and whatever else might want to put with this thing. So.
Hopefully we get to see some cool stuff, bring you guys along with us, and we'll document the drive back and how it goes. So
we'll have to see kind of what they allow us to film and things, but I think the training probably won't be a problem. We might even get a chance to see where they actually build these things.
Let's hope for the best. So you guys enjoy the video, leave some comments down below. Let's head over to TimberKing and get Dad's early Christmas present, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, we've made it to TimberKing's sales department here. I think it's closer to downtown Kansas City, or at least an industrial park outside of it. We're gonna head in there, meet the sales team. Dad's probably gonna do some paperwork, and I see they got some logs out back, so we might be able to try out the mill here before we take it. We'll see what happens, but we made it to TimberKing. So we just finished the paperwork. We're outside now checking it out, and we're gonna get a bit of a training here soon. So hopefully the guys are good with us filming that. But here it is. Here's the first look. What's your initial impression, Dad?
Well, it always looks bigger and fancier on paper, but then again, I haven't never been up to one like this up close before, ever. But she's definitely got some bells and whistles on it.
It's pretty, and it's nice to see that that a robot didn't weld it either. You can tell that some guy was actually on this thing welding it, which was great to see.
There's a lot of reviews on this mill compared to all the competitions that this is a very well built, and we did do our homework as far as talking to more than just our salespeople on this here. We got two of them. You see they come up, go in, and then these here, they built them a lot heavier too. It's actually a roller, so you're able to position your log without.
This is how many feet?
This will cut 24 footers, so I'm gonna guess it'll max out at like 24.6. You know, because if you want, you know, you just being that everything isn't gonna be on exactly perfect, you always get a little extra.
Yeah, and I wanted to add too, for people that don't know about these mills, this is a portable mill. This is on a trailer, so we're gonna pull the whole mill home as one unit. We got tires in the back, and we got a nice big hitch in the front, so that's how we're gonna get this thing home.
Okay, the tongue, you did order a detachable tongue, so it's detachable right there. So when it comes to leveling your frame, any frame that we build, we've got 3 jacks on one side, 3 jacks on the other side. And what's important with this, especially with the tandem axles, is to get the foundation picked up, okay? You want the weight of those the springs off of you want it off of the springs. Well, what you'll get is, if you look down this rail, not the ground, but the outside edge, this right here, you can probably see it trailing off. You know, it's doing this, right? It's coming straight, and then it's doing that. What we're doing is we're lifting the frame up with the 4 corners. Okay, we're gonna lift the frame up, get the weight off the axles. We're just gonna level side to side. Here, level side to side down there as well. Because we don't want any twist to the frame.
Yeah.
Okay, we want it level side to side.
Yep.
Once we've done that, then we just bring the center jacks down so that they touch, and give them a few turns so that we can level out the middle.
So we're leveling with the 4 corners,
frame.
and then the center ones are just stabilizing everything else.
Because once you pick that frame up on the ends, you sight down that, it's going to be doing this, right?
Yeah, I could imagine a little bit.
It's got a little flex to it. So then what you're going to do with these is you'll bring that flex out and level the final level, okay?
Before we get too far into this is your Jason from TimberKing, and he's gonna walk through a demo for us on how this machine works and show us how this mill is gonna run and some of the tips and tricks to saw some better lumber.
Yeah.
So, and you've been working for TimberKing for how long now?
About 28 years now.
Yeah. So you know what you're doing.
I've been around, yeah.
Yeah. So
absolutely, we're gonna start here and then we'll work our way back. Log stops. We've got a series of log stops that run straight up and straight down.
They're all working together. There's
Working
no
together.
working some and not the others. They're
Correct.
all one trigger.
You pull that lever, they just go straight up.
So lever one way up, the other way
Yep,
down.
Down, up and down.
And it
Okay.
pulls them down.
Yep.
It doesn't.
You want to maintain a 90-degree angle all the time, okay? Right?
Yep.
So once in a while, just pull back. There's a little play in so that they run up and down. Pull back, put your square up to it.
Oh, when you put your pressure on.
Yeah,
That's when
right,
you want to
right,
square. Not
right.
when it's
When a
just
log is simulating a log against
Right.
it. If it's not square, there's an adjustment bolt right underneath here. Okay, you see that?
Yep.
There's a jam nut. You just loosen the jam nut and you can drive that bolt up and down. Now, you'll look and what it's going to do is pivot this entire plate.
But you got to loosen this.
Correct,
a little
yeah.
bit?
So there's 3 bolts here. 1, 2, 3. Just loosen these a little bit and then you're going to make your adjustment right here. You're not going to have these out of adjustment all the time, but it's something you're going to want to
Be
pay
checking
attention
from
to.
time to time.
Right,
Yeah.
right. The other thing you want to make sure you're aware of is the height of them before you make the cut. So you don't run into,
So the blade doesn't cut
right
iron.
now if that blade were to cut, it'd go right into it, right? So we want to make sure these are low enough to make the cut but high enough to support the log still. They're there to also provide a backstop to turn the log. Right? Once you get down to a point where your log is squared up, you can drop these down low enough to where these will now catch, right? So anything, as long as you got a clean edge to your cant, it'll catch right here on every cross member. So then you can drop these down out of the way and not have to worry about the height of them. Log turners, on this particular model, you got 2 turners, okay? Forward and a rear. So
Okay,
you can use
so-
them individually or at the same time. Have it selected on the
Right.
switch for dual.
We don't
for both of them.
have 2 valves.
No, right.
We
It's-
we
they're
use one
working off
valve,
this.
whether we want to use them both or one. They're going to work together.
You do until you switch it. Now, when you hit the switch to go to individual, then that's going to strictly use just one. Now, the turner chain, it's going to drive off the same valve. So they're going to turn at the same time.
So
all
it'll
the
still be
time.
turning, but it'll be
Yes,
down.
right,
or up
correct,
or up.
correct. A little tip for the turner. This sprocket right here is your drive sprocket. That's your idler sprocket down there, okay? You've got 2 set screws, one that drives down onto a key, and the other just drives right the set screw right on the shaft. I'd check those set screws periodically just to make sure they're staying tight.
They're known
Okay.
to get loose. You're saying.
They can come loose over time, you know? So that's one of those areas that preventative maintenance is
And you're
take
saying
you a long
running them
way.
loose, pretty soon you can't.
Well,
keep
what
them tight.
happens is if they do work loose, then that sprocket has the opportunity to start walking out, right?
Yeah.
And so when it starts walking out, what's it's gonna do is
gonna
it's gonna start hitting
damaging
there and
stuff.
damaging. Yeah, it's not something that happens on a regular basis, but it is something I want to make sure that I'm aware of. The log turner chain itself, we want a little bit of play there, maybe a 1/4 inch. Okay, that's
We
about all
we
you're
don't
looking
want
for.
that riding on that frame unless there's a log.
It's going to get, yeah, the weight of the log's still gonna, you can get this as tight as you want. It's
Right.
still gonna push it down
Right.
and start getting some
Well, like you
wear.
said,
But I want a little bit of, I don't want it to bind. So I want about a 1/4 inch of play right there. If you need to adjust that, you can adjust that right down here on those 2 bolts to pull this sprocket away from the fixed sprocket. That will tighten your chain.
What number is
Absolutely.
that? 100 or what?
That's 100. Yeah, I think it's 100.
We got some of that on the
Um,
farm, but I'm looking at this length. I'm like, as long as it don't break.
Right, right.
We got to
And
call
the
you guys.
cleats, yeah, these you'd have to get those cleats from us for sure.
So that's not something I'd be like, because we were talking on the way here. Is there different parts that we should say, okay, you might want to have a few of these on hand? Because
yeah, what would be a
I
common wear
wouldn't
part?
concern myself
No.
with having those on hand.
Okay.
What I'm going to be concerned about is like wear items like my belts. You know, those are wheel belts. You know, that's something that I feel like, you know, the belts that are
I've seen you
inside
guys
the wheels
replace
here.
those. You
I
got
want
quite a
to,
technique.
yeah, I want to have a set of those on hand. You know, it might not be a bad idea to have a set of bearings for my guide rollers, even though these are greasable and they give you a long life.
replace the whole roll.
Now you can just replace the
that
bearings
key out,
inside.
and that's just a nut, and that slips off.
There's a snap ring in here.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
pull that. You're gonna pull the wheel off, but you get the snap ring out, and there's 2 bearings in there, sitting side by side.
So which one's known to go out? Both, or just?
I'm not going to say they're known to go out. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say they're known to go out. I'm just, you were asking me if there's some parts that I would want on hand over the life of this sawmill. Then I would consider guide rollers are an important aspect to your sawing, right? For your accuracy and guiding the blade through the log. So I want to make sure, you know, if you're asking
There's
me
no crazy
what
money
parts,
there, though.
No. And I wouldn't even suggest that at you know, initially. I'm just, you know, these give you, you know, long life if you're properly greasing them.
And as far as this belt, so years or what?
The belt right here, this belt was your wear. What I'm looking for, on average, these belts will last maybe 150 to 200 hours, right? That's an average. Okay, I've seen them last a little longer, a little bit less. But what you're looking for is, you'll notice that the blade is lifted up with the belt, right? That's providing a crown for the blade to help center it. But once that belt starts wearing flat, that blade can start shifting around and moving around quite a bit. And that's an indicator that you need belts changed out.
Or does it fall?
Or if it gets bad enough, the blade will just fly off. And if you ever have that happen, it's 99% of the time it's your belts.
It's your belts.
Yeah.
Getting where they can't keep the blade.
And this is a standard V belt in here. You can get these belts at your hardware stores. You can certainly buy them from us.
Right.
But it's a B56 belt.
That's something to know.
And this one and on that wheel as well. But that's covered the log turners, right? Next item in your frame here is your locking dog spike. Okay, you've got one here, and you've got one back here as well. To lock the log against the stops so it doesn't move on you when you're sawing through the log. Okay? This has 2 valves that operate it as well. One takes this spike back and forth on the rail here, and the other valve takes the spike up and down to adjust for the height. The only thing I would say maintenance-wise on the dog mechanism here is keeping this clean. And anytime you see this UHMW material right here, this nylon stuff, the only thing you can lubricate it with is silicone spray. Okay, that's what I want to use for any time you see this. You're going to see this also because at the saw head lift.
Yeah.
You've got a set here, and then 2 on that side as well.
Yeah.
These are your posts that the saw head rides up and down on. Okay. Oh, I don't want to use any petroleum products that cause those to swell. Now, toe boards. Okay, so you've got a front toe board and a rear toe board back here. They're independently operated, and their main purpose is for your logs that are tapered, right?
That first cut, that's especially.
Yeah, if you need to level out the log, they're very useful in that respect. They do roll, so if you need to reposition your log or can't, weight distribution is certainly important on your logs. So you can bring these up and then reposition if you need. Now the log loaders, they're in their transport position right now. We're going to get to a point here in this training to where we're going to get those down, and I'll show you the sequence we go through to get that done. But let's move on to the saw head. See, your fuel tank sits right here. Okay, fixed tank, fuel filters. Engine itself, this Kubota is a beast. It's you're gonna love it.
They're known to be hardy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Battery sits here. It's easy to get to, accessible. Break-in period on your engine's 50 hours. Get the oil changed out at that time. If you look on the other side, I'll show you where your oil drain is. And you'll have to kind of look in here. It is, you'll have to just take it out someplace. And what I do is I take it out this way, right out here, straight out here, and I have the saw head back to where my bucket can be sitting on the plate back there. And that's where this shutoff has a lever on it. You just push down and pull over, and that will allow your oil to drain out. At 50 hours, you're going to do
50 hours is your first change.
Yeah, your first change.
And then otherwise, we're how many hours?
After that, just follow the Kubota manual for that. I don't have the specific hours in my head on what that is.
You got air filter in there, or this is not something I have to get to you guys for this.
This is an electric clutch that engages and disengages your blade drive. All right. Now at 10 hours of service, after 10 hours of service, I want you to take this guard off right here, okay? There's 2 bolts here, 1 here, and 1 here. 4 bolts. That guard will come off. And there's a main bolt that secures your clutch and pump pulley on, all right? That bolt, I want you to check at 10 hours. I want you to check the torque spec on it, and the spec is 45 foot-pounds. And frankly, every time you go to change the oil on this after that, check it.
Since you're up there, has anybody ever put a canopy over the top of these?
We do sell covers that go over them. So certainly, you know, you can purchase a canvas cover. You can put your own cover of it, or you can build, you know,
like
structure over it.
So right now it's not all the way down.
No, we're sitting.
We got a few inches.
We're sitting at about 5 inches, I think, and that's a good point actually to just stress is when you're traveling with this machine, from location to location or home, wherever you're going with it. I like to have this saw head up, suspended at about 4 or 5 inches. All right, I don't want it all the way down.
Some suspension.
And the main thing is because of the chain right here that it's supporting on. I want the weight on that chain. It's going to help lessen the bouncing. Speaking of your chains, right? We want to maintain our chains, and condition-wise, we want to keep them oiled.
What do we put on it?
I suggest
silicone?
ATF fluid. Okay, that's what I would suggest.
ATF, automatic transmission fluid.
I've heard of that.
red stuff.
Yeah. And the reason is what? It's
And really, what I'm looking for, I don't want something I don't want a heavy grease. I don't want anything that's going to attract sawdust. ATF fluid is penetrating. It'll get inside these little rollers.
Put it in some sort of spray.
And it doesn't attract. Yeah, use it in a spray bottle. Just pour it into a spray bottle and spray these down. I'd keep these lubricated. And not only that, but as that chain goes through the top of the frame up there, there's an adjustment bolt on that side and that side. I want to make sure I keep that oiled, because if I ever need to make that adjustment, I want it to turn for me. And if you don't keep that oiled, it can rust up and seize, and then when you do need to make an adjustment, it's going to be hard to do. That's the same thing over here on your log stops. Let's take a look at that real quick. Keep some oil inside these threads so it soaks down in there. If I ever need to make this adjustment to tighten these chains,
so now
I can do that.
Probably want them
But they,
like this.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
don't want them like this one where we need just a tiny bit of slack.
See here, I want just a little bit of movement. You know, there's not even a 1/4 inch there. That's probably about an 1/8 of an inch of movement. That's all. It's the most I want. I want them tight.
They don't do a lot.
I want them tight.
Yeah.
Right here, I want to make sure are oiled. And not only that, but the ones on the bottom also. There's the same adjustment on the very bottom as well. I'm going to go grab a tool and I'm going to show you how do we maintain this. I'll be right back.
We're about midway through the demo here, and I think one of the last things we're going to talk about the hydraulics on here. So far, this has been great. Dad, he's already all studied up on this, but some of this stuff is kind of new to me yet, especially with this specific machine. I know you've done a lot of research.
Well, I've done research. I've got almost 3.5 years in on this thing already, but never seen it up close. Never got to work with anybody, but other than sawing with the Amish and stuff. But yeah, a lot of this maintenance and some of the little things that we've never been exposed to are definitely going to be a help.
Show you kind of what probably a good idea of what this is doing. It's carrying your hoses and electrical cables back and forth down the rails, and it rotates around, right?
They call that the energy chain.
Yeah. And so what this is made up of are side links, okay, and crossbars. Okay, the crossbars help stabilize this and keep the side links together.
Yeah.
If you'll look right here, this side link rotates, kind of has a radius right here.
Yeah.
That's where it flexes. Okay.
Oh yeah.
See that?
Yep.
These help keep those from popping apart. Here.
Yeah.
Pop that back, and that comes off.
So that pretty much holds that.
Holds these two together, right?
From coming out.
From coming apart.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're ever operating and you walk by here and you notice one of these missing, or maybe one of these are missing.
And where do you think it's going to be? In this pile of sawdust somewhere?
Right.
Yeah.
You might not find it.
Right.
Maybe you don't. But it'll still operate for a little while but the longer you run it, the opportunity for that to come apart, it's weaker. So like this one here, I'm going to put this one back on, okay?
So this would be more of a spacer, I imagine.
Well, these are still helping to
hold
stabilize
besides
also.
Yeah.
Okay. So all we're going to do is just put this right back into that groove. Okay.
This could
And
screw up a good day.
You can snap it in with your finger if you need, like that.
Yeah.
Or you can use your screwdriver and pop it back
Try to
in.
get it popped down.
Okay. These have little dividers.
Oh, and that holds this. The hose
Kind of holds these over, right?
Keeps
Or the
them all
cables
nice.
over.
Yeah, I see.
So you just get these at an angle,
So I see here like every other one or something. Some of them are
just
holding
like that.
the wiring.
They'll come out. Okay.
Yeah.
And just like we did with these, right? We're just going to take this, put it in that little groove, and pop that, and now that's off. Okay. The other point I would like to make also is these side plates are not interchangeable side to side.
Wow.
There is a number that is embossed, and it's hard to see this in the wrong type of light, but there's an embossed number right here, and you'll notice there's a 02 right there. This will have a 02. That'll have a 02. Now, if you look at the other side, it's going to have a 01. 01, 01. They're not interchangeable. They will go together, but when they go to rotate and bend, they will not bend correctly.
Okay, so somehow that.
So when you're replacing these, if you ever have to, make sure you're aware of the number right here and it matches all the others on that side.
Yeah.
Okay. You can usually take a screw.
See, that's something that I wouldn't pick up on until it's too late. But otherwise, as far as this, there's no, you don't really lube nothing here.
No, it's very durable. Good idea to keep sawdust from building up inside your energy chain. This is your sawdust area, right? This is where the sawdust chute is. So you're going to get a lot of sawdust from here to here. This area on the energy chain will start getting a lot of buildup. So
They
try
don't
to
have
use
any extension or something that could bring that. You know, I noticed wood misers will have that.
Yeah, we do have an attachment that bolts onto here that has a 4-inch round that you can hook up a tube to. Adding that attachment with that hose to get it closer to the ground and to the ground quicker is a good thing. Right?
It seems like a guy
Otherwise,
could do a little...
just the standard is you do have a fair amount of sawdust circulating in the air. Now, the saw head itself is locked in place for travel using these lugs right here, okay? One here and one on the other side as well. What I usually do with those is, you know, on our single axles, it's easy to get to this, and I can thread those right into the bottom of this nut and let them hang there, okay? See that on that side? You could do that, but this is, because this is a tandem axle, it's harder to get to that, right? There's not much room there.
You're not going to be like fumbling.
Crescent wrench like this, take it out.
When we're transporting it, this is the only spot we can be in.
Correct.
We can't say, well, let's get it ahead a little more. It might travel better.
Well, we figured that out to
This is where you want it.
This is correct in terms of ratio. Give
Okay.
you the proper tongue weight.
Okay, so that is where she's
It's
going to
fixed.
be.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to change.
We're not going to
that.
say we're going to want to do something.
But you're right. Yeah, you're going to have. Yeah. So in terms of powering this on, turning it on, we're just going to turn the key to the on position. And you have to allow this to boot up. It does go through its glowing and all that.
Yeah, so
I want you to be aware of this pump because, you know, this is something that's, you know, obviously is going to be pumping your fuel.
So now that's
and if this is not working, we're going to have an issue, right? So we want to make sure we're going to always know that this is working, right? If you're having any issues starting this, I'm always going to look right here.
Look there first.
Yeah. So once it's on, you've got a green indicator here, and these are just lined up right here to this button. This is your total. This is your rabbit for fast and slow idling, you know, throttle. So first thing we do is we push that.
It's like that skid steer.
It's going to give you, you know, your RPMs here. It's going to give you your battery voltage and your water temperature. Okay, and that's really all you're going to be looking at.
And the rest of this stuff.
This is all, there is a menu item here to get, to get into your diagnostics of your engine.
But that's got to be in our owner's
But
manual.
you're not going to be messing with that necessarily. That's more for your Kubota techs.
He can look and see that.
Right. And they have a port right here that they'll be able to plug into.
That's where they can plug their
and
computer
do all their
in.
diagnostics.
Yeah.
This is your increase, and this is your decrease for your throttle.
So it's either wide open or
incrementally you can hit that. You can hold it and it'll go there. pretty fairly
So when
quickly.
we're sawing, we leave that motor
We're
wide
gonna go
open.
full throttle when we're sawing.
So as we're grabbing stuff off, we're not turning our throttle down.
I don't know.
We let her run.
I turn the blade off if I'm
Right.
up there, but you know, you can throttle it down. That's up to you. How much fuel you want to use, right?
I'm just wondering what's healthier for the motor. If it's just,
I like to throttle down if I'm going to do anything that's going to take a certain amount of time, right? That's kind of, you know, the fine line there. Yeah, if I want to shut it off again, yes. I just hit that button right there, and then certainly make sure you key it off. Otherwise, our battery takes it. Yeah, it's because that pump's going to be running. All right.
so without that key, we're not starting this machine.
No. So all your valves are labeled for you, okay? First valve here is your forward and reverse for the cutting head, okay? Now this is adjustable speed-wise using a flow control, okay? So what you're going to get in the practice of doing is this speed control right here only has so much range. There's all the way off, there's all the way open, okay? But forward, again, I'm just going to shut this off, open the valve, start turning this. The saw head will slowly start moving forward. Ease into the log, slowly enter the log. Once you've entered the log and got in a foot or so, then you can, then you can increase your speed a little bit, if you like. The engine, the species, that's all going to dictate your
We're
speed.
going to be listening to that motor.
You're trying to get in tune with your ears for the engine and listening for it to load
So
up.
when
If
we're
it
actually
loads-
sawing, it's here and here.
Yes, yeah. I want
The
to
rest
work
of this is all adjusting, and then you're here and here until you want to move your log.
I feel pretty comfortable right here with
Well,
you.
I can see
until
the-
you operate. I know.
I know what happens eventually.
Yeah.
You're not looking at this stuff.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah.
But yeah, until we start really going. But yeah, we're used to hydraulic stuff. We're not.
Sure. Let's talk about your advanced set works, okay?
Now this looks different than the pictures I've got in the
It
manual.
is.
So this
it
is
probably
a
is.
newer
It's a
version.
newer. Component-wise, you've got the control box right here, right? It's sort of the brains of the system. You've got communication cables right here that are plugged in, and they run along the frame, along the, along with the other cables and hoses, and then they come up around here, and there's two other components that make up your computer system. One would be the electric solenoid here, hydraulic solenoid, okay? The other is going to be up there, an encoder. Right.
Oh, and there's a little wire.
And there's a wire that comes straight down and attaches to the saw head. So what that's doing is measuring distance. So as the saw head's moving up and down, that cable, this little wire right here, is basically spooling and counting revolutions. And the thing to remember is your saw head sits, when it's all the way down at its lowest position, sits at 1 inch off the deck.
Yeah.
All right. So essentially all you've got to do is run that saw head down
All the
as
way
low as it
down
can
and then go off that mark.
and then put the 1 right where the red indicator
There
is
you
at
go.
that point, and that sets your scale. It's a good idea to always double check that, right, by measuring the blade off the deck and just make sure you are indeed accurate. These drive chains here that pull the saw head back and forth, those could jump off because there's not a lot of tension on these. If they were not adjusted properly or if they were too loose, they could create enough slack to skip a
some
tooth.
debris that interferes or something.
The way that works, the way that system works, the chain comes in, there's a bolt here and here, and inside there's a sprocket, okay? It's just an idler sprocket inside this tube on each one of these bolts. So the chain comes in, it goes around this sprocket, up through the tube, and if you look up top,
Yeah.
there's your drive shaft. There's another sprocket inside there that it loops over and then comes back down the tube. So these chains are running parallel, and it goes around this sprocket and out the other end to the push.
Activating that.
This is basically turning this, turning that, turning this shaft,
That's the one
pulling
we-
the saw head along these chains. Chains never move, right? We're just pulling the saw head
I get
along
it.
the chains.
Yep.
They're
So that,
equal
Yeah.
on both sides. And here's something I'm going to be doing maintenance-wise up here. Once a month, every 40 hours or so, you're going to grease your little bearings up here. These little 1-inch bearings.
they're just
They're
the
low
standard
RPM
greasers.
bearings. These are
Again,
not
that-
running fast, but I want to make sure they're greased on each side. But not only that, I want to have, when I'm up here greasing that, I'm going to check my set screws again
that's
on my
it.
sprockets. Here, and inside, right here on that sprocket. These things are constantly doing this back and forth all day long. They could work loose. Now when we power this on, you got to let this boot up just like you did here, okay? And it's got a little sequence that it goes through. What we've got here is your screen.
4 7/8 are up there.
Yeah, your screen's going to give you a blade height in real time. You know, so as you're moving the saw head up, you'll see that changing. So that's where the blade is off the deck, right?
But I mean, your blade's an 1/8 inch, so
if
that's
you made
the
that,
bottom of that blade.
Yes, correct. If you made that cut, that's what you should measure.
That's what we should measure off the back. Yeah.
And if you did go to a thicker blade, you could go in here and change that. You're going to see down here, it's going to show you the preset that you're currently on. Okay, this computer has 5 presets that you can program: 1 inch, 2 inch, 1.5 inch, whatever common board dimensions you're using. It's going to display right here on which one you're currently using. Now you have a button here that allows you to select your preset. When I push that, you see it goes to preset 2, and you'll notice the board thickness changed. If I go to 3, it's changed again. And so these are basically your presets pre-programmed. Okay, let's say I want to program this one to 3/4. We're highlighted on 1. We noticed that it's 1 inch. We want to go to 3/4, so I know we need to go down, right?
Yep.
So there's your up and down arrows. So we're going to go down, and it runs in 1/16.
Okay.
So we'll select 3/4. Now, once that's set, we can go to the next one. We can change.
So we
that.
don't have to press anything to lock that in.
Not yet.
Once we go past it, it's...
Once we exit, and that saves it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So we can go to the other ones and select.
So we can do them all, and then just exit, and then this.
Yes, correct. Or you can do just one.
Yeah.
Now all we've got to do is push auto down, and it drops. Very first drop it makes is the waist cut. It's calculating. It's calculating.
So it's in 2-inch increments right now at 10 7/8.
Right now, what it did, it was optimized. Okay, so it decided. Okay, you told me to start right here. You're telling me to cut 2-inch lumber, so it's figuring how much curve is from that point where you started from to the bottom, which is 1 inch. It's thinking you're going to cut all those in that one sequence. So it's calculating how much waste you're going to get. So it's dropping that first, the waste first, so that every time you push auto down after that first drop, there'll be 2-inch increments all the way, so that the last board is the same. Procedurally, it's going to be the same every time. You bring the blade up to the log, you go up to the top of the log, you'll set your return position. That's the position, remember, that allows you to clear everything.
Even though you cut something
off.
off.
So I'll go up above this. I'll just find the top of this log, and I'll just go up above it, just like this, okay?
See, that's where we're going to have
my return right there. Once I set that, then I'll select the preset I'm wanting to use, the size. Now I push my auto down, it's going to drop down. Well, now I'm going to have to eyeball it. I'm going to have to hit auto down,
you're going to have to decide where you want
and you're going to go
first
down,
cut.
and I'll probably be right around here somewhere. Yeah. And once that is established, then I can go ahead and make that cut. Once I finish it and it exits out the log and it's clear of the log, then I'll push auto up, and it'll go up to that point where it clears the log, right? And I visually sight that to make sure, and also, you know, before I draw it back. Okay, so then I draw it back, and then I'll push auto down. It'll go down to the next 1-inch cut, and I'll make that. Okay, now let's say we've taken a couple cuts off of this. You know, we've got a flat side. Now I'm ready to turn that log, right?
Okay, we went through a lot of the maintenance and tips and tricks and safety side of it. Now we're actually going to get to see it in action and see it cut a log for the first time. Okay, so we are on the way back home, a little under halfway back home, and everything's been going smooth so far. Stopped to fill up with gas. I think we're just north of Des Moines. So what do you think so far, Dad?
Quite a trip so far, but everything's good. And I can't think of anything that negative to say about this experience so far.
Yeah, we were debating, or Dad was debating, paying them to haul it up here, and I think it was worth going down there, at least so far. It was really nice to meet the entire TimberKing crew, get kind of a face and a name to the
And I think when it comes to our warranty, being that they're so far away, they have no way of knowing who we really are. And they kind of claim they gotta stick their neck out on the honor system a little bit when you call up and say, hey, this ain't working right. For them to send a person from their company up to verify that or something, they gotta kind of feel you out. They were pretty good about, you know, throwing on a little something like a belt and just being good about the extra wear parts we might need and things like that. So yeah, that definitely was what we needed to do.
So huge thank you to the entire team at TimberKing. We aren't sponsored by them or anything. We had a good time going down there. So.
Yeah, they were really good about it, and it kind of becomes like a family afterwards, because I got a feeling we're going to be using them for troubleshooting or whatever questions about actually operation.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have to call down there again. Hopefully we get to see some of them guys in the future. But anyways, in case we don't check back in, we're going to end off the video here since it's getting dark.
In the future, we'll be maybe doing some demos on our site.
Yeah, you'll see plenty of videos when it comes to this mill. Let us know what you think down in the comments below, and what you want to see, what you want us to go over more in depth, especially once we learn it.
And what I'd like to know is any of you viewers, especially you regular guys that have been watching us, do you own a sawmill, or do you own actually a TimberKing, and then what you know about it? Give us your thoughts, or if anything you want us to be aware of.
Yep. So leave your comments down below, like, comment, share. We really appreciate you guys coming along with us, and we'll see you guys next time.